Welcome back to my channel. I'm Amy from the Fuel Homestead. This is Everett. And today we're going to talk about why we ditched baby-led weaning and what we're doing instead. So for those of you who don't know, baby-led weaning is this concept. It's really popular in the UK and has been for decades, where you would feed your baby real food. Like you would skip the whole puree process and you would go straight to real food. So big pieces of soft broccoli, toast, eggs, steamed vegetables like carrots and potatoes, and sweet potato cut into long strips that your baby can grasp. Now, let me preface this with that we didn't completely ditch baby-led weaning, but we kind of altered it to our needs and what suited him best. So that's why I wanted to make this video, because it's not all or nothing. And I thought it was really important to share our experience with baby-led weaning and why we decided to not go that direction after doing it for several weeks. So when Everett turned 6 months old, we decided to start him on solid food. A lot of people had recommended the baby-led weaning method to me, so I did a lot of research and I thought, this seems like a really good method. And he was really interested in eating, so I thought he would do well with it, and he did for the most part. I started out with things like eggs and, the steamed vegetables, everything that I mentioned before. And he did well, but it didn't seem like he was quite grasping it as quickly as I thought that he would. And unfortunately, what happened was he was becoming more frustrated that he wasn't actually eating and getting much from eating than just being happy by giving him something that was mashed off of our plates. So I decided to kind of, after the first, 3 weeks, which has not been very long. We actually started the week before he turned 6 months, so he's almost 7 months now. So he did it for a good 3 weeks of baby-led weaning, and it can take about 2 weeks for them to really figure out the whole process. And he did, but then he was becoming really frustrated that he wasn't actually eating anything. He was mostly pulling bites off and pulling bites off and then just, having a really hard time chewing them and digesting them. Now, a lot of people would say, well, you didn't give him long enough, that's normal. Well, it is normal, but when I would feed him mashed up food, not pureed, he would go after it like crazy. He was hungry, he would eat it, he was satisfied and fulfilled, and that was the most important part of it to me rather than some method. Now, I will say that the baby-led weaning method we've been alternating. So like, I'll give him a whole head, a piece of broccoli, steamed, as well as something mashed up from our plate, and he'll do both. Yes, you will. He'll do both at each sitting. So we're doing both. We're doing baby-led weaning and the mashed purees, not purees, but mashed food of whatever is on our plate. But he will go after the mashed food, and he will also get that texture of the whole food as well. Now, I will say that part of it has caused him to be able to now take solid food. We're not doing mashed food anymore, and he's almost 7 months old, so he's actually eating pieces of chicken. He's eating pieces of potato. He's eating oatmeal, like the steel-cut oatmeal. And he does really well with it. So the texture thing was perfect for him, but we just had to gradually work our way up to that. He still won't pull off pieces of food unless it gets soft enough for him to where he can just kind of suck it off with the baby-led weaning method. Now, one of the things that people say is that baby-led weaning causes children to not be as picky. Well, I don't think that's true at all. I think what actually happens is you're more inclined to give them what's on your plate and not give them an alternative if you are doing pureed from the store. So we are doing that from the beginning. We have given him nothing from the store. We did get one jar of like banana puree just to kind of give to him to see what he would do, but he really didn't even like that. You see yourself? So we have just from the beginning given him anything that's on our plate, and he's liked pretty much all of it. The only thing that he doesn't really care for, he doesn't really care for eggs that much yet, which is understandable. He also loves sauerkraut. So I'm not holding back thinking, oh, this is something that I probably wouldn't like as a kid. I'm just giving it to him because if you think about kids in different countries, they basically eat what they're given. They don't know what they're given. They just eat it. And so I kind of wanted to go that route with him and it's just giving him what I'm eating, giving him what we have. And so far he's liked everything. That is the key to not having a picky eater. It's not necessarily the baby-led weaning large chunks of food. It is offering them food that you eat on a regular basis and that they don't know any different. It just looks like a whole food diet to them. So another good resource for teaching your baby how to eat solid food is the book from Sally Fallon called the Nourishing Traditions Book of Baby and Child Care. Now, this is a book that I wish I would have had when I was pregnant because it has so much good information in it from conception to birth through ages of teenagers even. And in that book, she talks about why it's important for babies to eat solid food, possibly even as early as 6 months old. And in modern society, especially westernized culture, we're not giving our babies food until 6 months old because that's what some study said to us. But the reality is that that's not always the case for every baby. If you look at other cultures, a lot of times they're mashing up food in their mouth and giving them babies as little as 4 months food, as little as 4 months old. Now, they still have that tongue reflex where they'll push stuff out. But I can remember this, I've read this, the more you give them food, the more the reflex goes away. That was the truth with my first oldest son. When he was getting food, I started him at 4 months old, and after a month, that reflex went away. So I think it's more so based on how often you're giving them food with the reflex, not necessarily their age. Now, I'm not a scientist and I'm not a doctor, and I know people do studies on this, but I'm just going off of my own experience of what happened and how it happened. And that's kind of been the case with him too. They say that the reflex is supposed to go away completely at 6 months, and that wasn't the case with him. I still had to go through several weeks of feeding him so that he could get that reflex down to not automatically push food out. So the reality is that babies need more iron and vitamins and minerals once they reach the age of 4 months old. So Sally Fallon suggests that you start them at 4 months old with things like egg yolk rather than the egg white because obviously allergens exist and most of the time people are allergic to egg whites, not egg yolk. And so she's suggesting that at 4 months. Now that's a personal opinion and a personal option for you, but just it's really packed full of information. It's packed full of information on homemade formula recipes. If you are an underproducer like I am when it comes to breastfeeding, she actually gives you several homemade formula recipes in there, from using raw milk from cows or goats to something as simple as using whey from homemade yogurt. She also talks about sleeping methods and the fat needs for your baby. So the one thing I learned in there is that a lot of times babies are not getting enough fat from mom or from their food. And so you can add cod liver oil to their food or just as a supplement every single day. And it kind of helps them sleep through the night. It helps them feel more satiated more. And it's just overall good for them to have. Now, I will link the book in the description below of this video. That way you can check it out. It is on Amazon. I actually bought mine used on Amazon for like $5, but you can get it brand new as well. So our typical day of eating with a 6-month-old looks like getting up in the morning and nursing. You should always nurse first or give formula if you're feeding formula. Babies' main nutrition should be milk until they're a year old. So I nurse him first, and then we will sit down in the morning and I will give him yogurt. Now, a lot of gasps right there because they say you're not supposed to give babies milk until they're a year old. Well, I think that's hilarious because I've had to supplement with him with formula because I'm not producing enough. And guess what it's made out of? It's made out of milk, made out of cow's milk. So I laugh at that because I just think it's hilarious. Now, you should look for issues in regard to an allergen, but he's never had any issues. So we start with organic raw yogurt in the morning for his breakfast after he nurses. He does a mid-morning nurse and he goes to sleep, and then by the time he wakes up is lunchtime. And so he will eat basically whatever I am eating, unless it's something that's pre-made that might have spices or something in it. So a lot of times it'll just be chicken. And vegetables, or a piece of a sandwich that a soft part that he's able to chomp down on. And then after that, he will nurse again. And then generally we just go through our regular nursing habit. Now he does nurse less, but he nurses always before he eats. And so then in the mid-afternoon, he will want a snack. So we'll do something like an organic applesauce, or something fun like that. Or I will give him pears. That's when baby-led weaning does come in. I'll give him pieces of apple, pieces of pear. He likes cantaloupe, any kind of fruit or vegetable that you can leave whole that kind of makes him work for it, and he really enjoys that. Once again, he nurses about mid-afternoon, and then he is ready for dinner when we are. Now, sometimes I might have to give him a snack beforehand. Again, we'll go with either what we're having for dinner. If it's ready early, I will give him that before everybody else sits down. Or we'll go with a fruit or vegetable, or even an avocado or something like that he can snack on before dinner. Now, your baby can absolutely eat what's on your plate at dinner time as well. Just make sure you're not giving them extra salt and sugar. Put aside their food before adding those things, and they'll be just fine. So an example is last night I made chicken and gnocchi soup, and he ate that soup. I was able to cut the pasta pieces in little pieces and the chicken pieces in little pieces, and he loved it. He ate it. The night before that, we had venison with vegetables, and I was able to cut the venison really small. It was soft enough because I roasted it in the crock pot all day for him to eat, and the vegetables were soft enough as well, so he ate those. So there's really no need for you to buy puree at the store. You can still completely bypass the puree stage, but you might want to consider, if baby-led weaning isn't completely working for you and your baby is hungry and upset, just feeding them off of your plate the things that are soft, smash them up and give them a little bit at a time. And then as they learn that, still giving them the big solid food as well, they're gonna grow a lot faster and eating than just doing baby-led weaning. So that is what we're doing. We didn't completely ditch baby-led weaning, but we mostly ditched it, and we are doing a combination of baby-led weaning and mashed up food of whatever is on our plate, because he just did better that way, and he learned a lot quicker that way to eat. And it was so frustrating for him to try and eat and not get anything when he was hungry. So we are really enjoying it. We're obviously rebels. We're going against everything. We are doing everything against the books other than the Nourishing Traditions book, which is right up the homesteader's alley, by the way, for children. I mean, we are feeding this baby bone broth and raw milk and yogurt and raw cheeses, and he's thriving and he's doing good. And he's mad right now because he's sleepy. But I hope this was an encouragement for you to see that one method doesn't always have to be the way that you go. You can do multiple different methods, or simply ditch the fad that's going on at that moment, because what might work for one baby might not work for another baby. So I encourage you to do what works best for you and your baby, because it will most certainly make everyone happy in the long run. Okay guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment below if you have any questions about our feeding method, and also leave a comment below if you have a little one that is eating right now. Tell me their favorite foods and things that maybe we haven't tried yet, though we've tried a lot. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and hit the bell notification for more cuteness from Everett to be notified of when we post brand new videos every week. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.